Or maybe I do. So, what chapter is it? Chapter 7, 6? Let me go back. Chapter 6, we only have one more chapter. So next weekend will be our last sit and sip on Sunday. I think the last chapter is left, and then like there's a prayer thing at the end that we'll kind of go over and stuff next weekend. Yay. How crazy. It went by so fast, right? Okay, so let's talk here about question number 1. What does freedom mean to you? Has this changed since reading chapter 6? Freedom! So let me turn on page 95 at the top. It talks about, at the last paragraph at the top, don't worry about the past. Don't care about the future, and only live in the present moment. So I feel like feeling free is almost like feeling disconnected from your past, allowing those chains to fall off, allowing things from the past to fall off. Hey, no. Just letting go. She's throwing grapes to the dog. Just letting go of the past and not holding on to stuff. I know when Dwayne and we had to do like a marriage counseling thing before we got married, which was nice. And that was one of the things that we had to do, is we had to talk about our past. Like, what's our deepest secrets from the past? And it was awesome because I have nothing to hide. And he has nothing to hide because we know our deepest down secrets from our past. So if that's talking to a counselor, if that's talking to your spouse, your friend, but we have to talk it out. And I feel like we have to let it go. Our past can be joyful or it can be dark, So whatever it is, just let it go. Get free from that. And I also have on page 97, at the bottom of the first paragraph, when you don't care about the past, you don't worry about the future. You are childlike. And how cool is it to watch children just be so free sometimes? Like, they don't care about anything. They're just so free and just, they want to have fun. If they want to color, they'll set in color. If they want to play their Xbox, they'll play their Xbox. Like, they're just free in their choices because they don't have responsibilities like adults. But we can also look at that and say, wow, I want to be that free. I want to not care what, the future holds for me. Because guess what, ladies? We have no control of our future. We should all know that by now. No, we don't know what the future is bringing to us, but there's no reason to worry about it or stress about it. It's just find joy in the moment currently, write some dreams down, some goals down, and then mark them off your list. If you hit them, awesome. If you don't, that's okay. The goals still have to be there. Don't lower your goals just because you don't hit them. Okay, you made them for a reason, and we can reach those. And then I have one more from question 1 on page 103 in the middle. But to be a warrior doesn't mean we always win the war. We may win or we may lose, but we always do our best. And at least we have a chance to be free again. Okay, remember, what is your best, right? You know what your best is. And as long as you're doing your best, then it doesn't matter if you win or if you fail. As long as you're doing your best, you know that. And you should be happy about that. You should feel freedom on that. Okay, so that was, those were a couple things that I got from question 1 about what does freedom mean to you? And it's, excuse me, it's really about letting go of your past. I mean, it can eat you up. It really can. So know who you are and just let it go, girl. Would anyone else like to share about question 1?
Well, when I was reading it, and it kind of goes back with that having the freedom and what other people think. I have my student teacher, and he goes out and he just plays and plays and plays. Guys, hey, take it elsewhere. And that's okay. But at the same time, he's also in the position where he's the professional, he's the teacher. And if he's out there playing with them all the time, they aren't going to necessarily see that connection. It's a great way to create kind of that rapport. But then there's also times of, go stay with the teacher, talk about what it is that we're going to be focusing on, and then maybe sometimes go play with them. But it's not always 100% out at recess going and playing. And I thought, oh man, maybe I'm taking that away from him. But I don't know. I don't know. Afterwards, after I read it, I felt really bad. But I just kind of feel like he's going to lose his stance with them, or his position with them, I guess.
Nicole, can you go into that a little bit more, of kind of what you're talking about here?
Yeah,
if you have something to say about that.
It was like the where it talked about the freedom and just being childlike, and children don't care. And I think that's kind of like his mindset. Like, he doesn't care what other people think, but then the other teachers are just like, why is he out there running with them? But I mean, at the beginning of the school year, I was out there running with them as well, just trying to create that rapport, but it continues. And I've talked to him about, hey, maybe during recess, we can kind of talk, hang out, and figure out what we're doing for the last half of the day, and then maybe go play with them. But at the same time, let them see that you're a professional as well, and not as a student, because then when you go in the classroom, they can't disconnect the two, is what I'm afraid of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so this is a teacher you're talking about, being childlike and going out during recess and playing with the kids, and
he's a student teacher, so he's learning the profession.
Okay. What grade is it?
He's in college.
What grade is he teaching?
Oh, fourth grade.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's a hard one. That's a very hard one, because I would probably be out there with the kids, to be honest. And I feel like you can grow and get respect in different ways. And with him playing with the kids, I don't think it's him not being, professional, responsible. Maybe that's his personality, because everybody is different. But he has to be aware too, if he loses that respect that he needs from the kids in the classroom. Like, hey, I'm out here on the playground. This is me, hanging out with you guys and playing and having fun. But when we come inside and come to this sitting, like, we have to have respect, and you have to listen to me, and that's something maybe good for the kids to learn. Like, oh, okay, we can have fun out here, but when we go inside, we have to be a little bit more serious, and that's something the kids can maybe read off that too and learn. Like, even if somebody's being wild and, joking around with us, their personality changes when they go inside and have a classroom sitting. So that's hard, because everyone's different. And but he is learning as a student teacher. So I don't know. Does anybody else have something to say about that?
Yeah, I want to kind of talk about that too. Sorry, I don't know who was starting to talk. So Nicole, I'm a preschool teacher, so obviously my children are a lot younger, but I can connect with that. Like I'm always with them, like playing with them, you know, different things, but like I use words that are like, you know, why don't we ask a friend to play, you know, kind of like another child to play with them, or sometimes it's okay to play by yourself, but they know that I'm the teacher, but I also have to make that connection with them to be able for them to trust me and understand when I say, okay, we need to stop and listen. We need to do this or do that, like changing that language, but they know how to listen to you because you have that connection of that playfulness. So, you know, it's interesting with fourth graders, you know, obviously the children are a lot older, but I think it's important to play with them and engage with them in a different way to build that connection so they do trust you and know when it's time to flip that switch and okay, we need to sit down and listen. So those are just some of my thoughts, but
yeah, and that's the thing. I felt really bad, you know, taking that away from him. But like I said, I was out there playing with them too. But it's almost, for me, it's almost like it's different because he is like a visitor to the classroom, that kind of thing. And I just don't want him to lose it because I was gone for like almost 2 weeks and it was horrendous. Like it was horrible. And I felt so bad for him. And I want him to be able to make that connection with them, and maybe that's what I need him to do is just say, okay, when we go outside, I can play with you. But when we come inside, we need to make that transition back to I am, you know, Mr. Whoever, and make that clear connection with them that this is what's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, then he just can't do that anymore, you know, and put that kind of back on them. And I would hope they would respect that. I would hope, because I know they enjoy it and I know they like it, but I'm just afraid he's going to lose his what's the word I'm looking for? His stance with them, I guess. But that's a really good point though, Ellen. I appreciate that because it is important to play with them and to get them to trust you and that stuff. It's very important, but it's also they got to be able to make that connection too when they come back in the classroom. So I think if we push that, hopefully that'll be better.
Thank you for sharing. Would anybody else, excuse me, like to share from question 1 about freedom and what it means to you, feeling free?
Brittany,
no? Are we
go?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say, freedom to me is like not judging, and a lot of freedom has come to me by not judging myself, with the choices that I've been making, whether they're good or bad choices. I think just being open to like why I'm making them and then accepting the choice and then kind of moving on has really freed my brain, especially because, sorry, it's hard to talk because Tessa, all I see is you. I'm like talking to you for some reason. So I'm like staring at you. I think sometimes like the guilt and shame of a choice makes us dwell on it. And then that's when bad consequences happen, where if we just accept the choice, we can do better next time. So freedom to me has come by just not judging myself. And then by not judging myself, I don't have to judge other people. So that was really enlightening, this chapter.
I love how you just said it's very lightening in this chapter, because that is, I think freedom is, you know, feeling lighter, you know, lifting some things off of yourself and allowing those chains to fall and just feeling light. And that feels so good. You know, it even talks about too, forgiving people, you know, from the past. It's so hard to forgive and forget, so hard, you know, but Like it said in one of the chapters about, if somebody shoots you, it's their problem, and you have no idea why that person treated you that way or why they did that to you, but it's their problem. And if you can understand that and forgive them, you're only helping yourself allow to be free. And it's so reassuring. It's amazing. So, all right, Becky, did you have something to share? Question 1 about feeling free.
I was going to share, but yeah, why don't I? And I'll just make it short and sweet because I know we want to probably move on. But when I think of freedom, I'm just like I don't know if this is typical or not, but I think of like government, laws, regulation. And I don't know why I've always thought of like freedom as like an outsider's thing. Like it's how the outside is affecting me. But after reading this chapter, I was like, that has nothing to do with it. I mean, obviously freedom exists and, the government and all that, whatever. But it's this chapter, I felt like it was teaching us to be like how to be free, have freedom within ourselves, like from ourselves, for ourselves. And it has nothing to do with like everybody else. It just has everything to do with me. And so I don't know. I just wanted to share that it kind of changed my perspective a little bit. And I didn't even like realize, well, I don't know. It gave a lot of like really good examples. Like I loved the childlike examples of, not being domesticated and being more wild and free. At the bottom of page 93 to 94, it says true freedom has to do with the human spirit. And it is the freedom to be who we really are. And who stops us from being free? We blame the government. Like I felt like this paragraph was just like talking straight to me. And it was like, yeah, I'm that typical person. It's like we blame other people for our lack of freedom. And really, we should be working on the freedom within ourselves. That's all.
Can I go off that one? I love that. I love that part. I love the freedom part. My favorite part, like when it came to like freedom thinking, was on 96. That middle paragraph was just like, for me. Not that like I feel like beat down by like the way that my parents raised me or anything like that, because I think my parents did an amazing job. Thanks, Mom and Dad. But like, I know so many people, and even when I was in my younger years, I blamed my dad for like a lot of issues in my life, but really they were my own issues. And like, I love the idea of just the fact that like, why are we blaming our parents for the way they raised us? They didn't know any different. How could they have raised us any different than what they know? And just like coming to terms with that, I actually screenshot that and put it in my stories. And I had about 3 to 4 separate people actually message me going, what book is this? Oh my gosh, I've never even thought of it like that. Like I had several people be like, wow, like I can be free from the way that my parents raised me, and that I don't have to blame them for what they did or didn't do, because it was about them and what they know. And so now I have a chance to be, oh my God, this kid, he knows when I start talking. You're not a champion, you're in trouble. I'm a champion. Go. I'm the best. I'm a champion. Okay, bye. But I just love how like you could be, I forget what I was saying now, but like being free from your parents and like just not having that that weight on your shoulders, and knowing that at any moment you can just change and be different from it, and you can let that go. And I just think that's really kind of beautiful to like hold that power. Like you guys feel like, I felt like this book really gives you like power to be free, to be truly free. And like, what is freedom? Because like he says, like freedom, we think of it as like, oh, I get to walk down the street, no one can tell me not to. But like really, like it's freedom from yourself, from your own mind, from your domestication, from all of these thoughts and opinions that were placed in your head that you realize you no longer have to carry. Like, I don't have to carry that anymore. Bye. And you get to just live truly free from this moment on. Like, isn't that really cool to think that like from this moment on, we get to live truly free from here on out? Like, take a second to just recognize that, because I think that's really cool. So, all right, on to the next.
I'm just going to rebound off that about like the parents and your family life and stuff. So I ran into a lot of people say, oh, you know, that just runs in my family. But isn't it cool to know that you can be the game changer? Like you can change that. Like we were just out to dinner with Dwayne's family, and you know, I would love to get his sisters on board the health, you know, journey. But they're like, oh, it's in our blood, like to be thick, which is fine, but you shouldn't think that way. Like, look at Dwayne. Dwayne's like a pole, you know, like he's real tiny. Like, no, it doesn't run in your blood. Like you have a choice. We have a choice to look at our parents and say, oh, I can't drink because they're an alcoholic, you know, or, you know, I don't want to put myself in that situation because my parents, you know, they struggled through that. Or my parents tried to move and it didn't work for them, so I don't want to move. Like, don't compare yourself to anyone else. Your brothers, your sisters, your friends, your parents, like you are your own person and you can break any cycle, you know, just like Jenny typed, like just because they did it and they're your parents, you know, and you love them and they raised you and awesome, you have a totally different mindset and a totally different life than them. Make it your own. You don't have to follow any footsteps. If you want to go to the jungle and live in the jungle, go. If you want to go to the mountaintop and live like a outdoorsman and live off the land, go. Like, do what makes you happy. Do what allows you to be free. And freedom is different for every single person. So yay, that was cool. All right, anybody else want to share before moving on to question 2?
I do, of course. Okay, so I kind of had the same thing of Becky of like, you know, freedom. I always thought of it as an outside thing. Like, I'm not free because my mom and dad wouldn't let me do this, or I'm not free because I'm a mom and I can't do that, or I'm a wife and I can't do this, and never thinking on the internal of like, okay, wait a second. If I want to be free, I can be free. If I want to go do something, I just need to say, hey, this is what I would like to go do, and I'm going to go do it. But then it also came into play like on page 97 where it's like, but there is something that changes all that, and we call them responsibilities. And I think that's a lot of times like our responsibilities that we think are so important in our lives is what keeps us from being free. It keeps us from being who we are or what we want to do, because it goes back to that factor of worrying about what somebody else thinks of you, or doing it for somebody else and not doing it for yourself and making yourself happy. And then like on the top of 98, it said the freedom we are looking for is the freedom to be ourselves and to express ourselves. And I think that's a lot of times, like, you know, people say, you know, they have midlife crisis. And it's because I think for so long, you've tried to be this person that everybody expected you to be, and you know, you had these responsibilities and you had to be this and you had to be that, and then you get to the point in your life when you feel free. You feel like, oh my God, I've not done all these things in my life I've wanted to do, and then all of a sudden you're like, you go crazy on the crazy end. And it's, you know, it's like a kid that, you know, they've been sheltered all their life, and then they turn 18 and they go to college and they turn into that wild child because they've been so bound to what, you know, they weren't allowed to do. And now they're like, I have to do all the things like right now. Like, you know, I'm just not going to spread it out and enjoy the moments. I'm going to slam pack all those moments that I can in such a short time. And then you're not really enjoying that freedom. You're not taking the time to soak those moments in. So I think that was one for me, was just, you know, thinking outside of those responsibilities. And yes, we all have responsibilities. We all have things that we need to do. We need to keep our children alive every day. We need to connect with our spouses. We need to go to work and have jobs and make an income to be able to survive and live. That's the way the world goes. But looking outside of that, really looking inward and not outward to who is controlling that freedom that you have in your time that you give to yourself. So for me, that was like my big, like, oh yeah, okay, I'll go work on that now, thanks.
All right. No, is anybody else? Question 1, freedom, or we can move on. Becky, do you want to go ahead and do question number 2?
Yeah. Number 2, what is one way you can self-express? How can you do it more? I can't remember if I wrote that in the chat, but that was on my notes. How can we do it more? So this question, I don't know if maybe you had like a weird thought about it when you read it. But when I was kind of like around page 108, 109, 110, when I was thinking about this question, but it was talking about that the little girl who was told that she wasn't a good singer in the book. It was that example. She's now 20 years old. She still does not want to sing. One way she could overcome the belief that her voice is ugly is to say, okay, I'll try to sing. And even if I do sing, I'll sing badly. Or even if I do sing badly, then she can pretend that someone is clapping and telling her, oh, that was beautiful. And so it's talking about examples and ways to break little tiny agreements that you have. And so for me, I just kind of linked, whatever your way of self-expressing is, everybody has a different way. Some people write poetry. For me, if I can go sit down at the piano and play, that is like, I'm so free in that moment, and I'm just enjoying the music and singing and playing and creating something beautiful. And I never even like realized it until I was older, that is one of those moments in my life when I feel so free, and I need to do it more. It's just like one of my like little hobbies that I don't do enough of, but I need to do it more when it makes me feel so good like that. So I feel like that's one way that I self-express, and, everybody has their own different way, but I just think that in order to become more free for yourself, you need to work on breaking some of those little agreements that you have. And I think it said somewhere in how you can break them is by recreating a new agreement, like in its place. And so I was thinking kind of along the lines of like, you can try to self-express more often than you do now. I feel like you're allowing your body to become a little bit more free and your mind to become a little bit more free, and make some space for some new agreements. So I don't know. It's kind of a hard question. I don't know if anybody has anything else they'd like to share.
I do. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Sorry, it feels really weird with my headphones on. I thought of this as, oh, sorry. And there's Lila. Quit. Self-expression, like, quit. Go. Go on. You're being a butthead. You all have kids and I have a dog. Thinking about like self-expression is, what you wear, the clothes you wear, how you do your makeup, if how you do your hair, music that you listen to. I know for me, something that I've had to let go of is this idea that I can't wear something because I'm a teacher. I got stuck in this like mental block in college, and I was never like, I was a jeans and t-shirt kind of girl. That was my jam. But like, I would only wear skinny jeans if I had a tunic. Like, you couldn't wear skinny jeans if you didn't have like that area covered in my mind, because I'm a teacher and I have to look like professional all the time. And I'm getting older. Oh, I can't wear that dress. I wore that dress when I was 22. Like, I'm 30 now. I can't wear that. Get rid of that. Like, a 30-year-old can't wear that dress. And then I'm seeing like really cute crop tops, and I'm like, oh, those look so cute. And like, I think I would look cute in that, but I can't wear that. I'm 33 years old. I'm a teacher. No, I can't wear that. I can wear that if I freaking want to. And so that's been something like that I have been purchasing more of, and I have been dabbling and wearing them out with like a sweater so I can cover up if I need to. But I think that's the kind of an agreement that I've broken with myself. Like, I can't wear that because I'm this. No, I'm not going to wear a crop top to work. because I'm a professional, but I can wear a crop top out to dinner with my husband. I can take a picture and I can post it on social media because I feel good. And it doesn't matter. If somebody doesn't like it, then that's their problem. It's not my problem. And so that's been like, when I saw that question, I was like, oh, that's been a big one for me that I've been working on. But yeah, so.
Bethany, that reminds me of just like the first step is awareness. Like being aware that those thoughts are coming into your head and going, do I believe that? Or is that something someone else placed there? Like just taking that moment to say, okay, yeah, I am a teacher, but I really like this crop top. And who's really telling me I can't wear it? It's myself. Why am I doing that to myself? Why am I limiting myself from my truest expression just because I'm concerned what somebody else might think? They may even think that it's beautiful, it's adorable, but I've already placed this thought that they may think that I'm not supposed to wear it, right? Like we've already went to the negative thought of other people's minds, and we don't even know if their minds are negative, but we've already projected that. Like, oh my God, people are going to look at me and be like, why is she wearing that? But what if people are actually going to look at you going, hell yeah, girl, pop that? We have no idea. And so I love the fact that you're just like, that awareness is so important of those thoughts coming in our heads. Why am I stopping myself from buying this? Why am I stopping myself from wearing this? And can I work through it? Right? Like, is it something I really truly feel comfortable in? Can I assess with myself? You know, because there's times where I put a crop top on and I was like, I'm just not feeling this today. And it's not because I'm afraid what other people are going to think, but I'm just not feeling it. Then that's okay. Right? Like, but if I'm saying I'm not feeling this because I'm afraid what other people are going to think, now I need to assess that. Now I need to break that down. Now I need to freaking wear the shirt just to prove myself wrong, you know? So I love that you said that, because I think that's in its purest form right there, you know, of just how much we probably stop ourselves and we're not even aware of it. And just becoming aware of how many times we're so concerned about other people, like millions of times a day, I'm sure. And probably more than I even want to know. But I love that. Wear the crop top.
I think part of it for me, the self-awareness is like really reading this book is the assumptions that I make in my own head with even that with clothes or what I post on Facebook, because you know, I'm on the fair board and it's like all old white guys. And like, I mean, it's like, okay, well, I'm friends with some of them, or if somebody sees it and I go back and say something and, you know, I am representing the community in a way, but also like, you know, the people that meant the most voted me into that position. Like it was a voted position that I was voted into. So they knew what they were getting into. I mean, most of the time, a lot of people know what they're getting into when they are with me. But making those assumptions and like, oh, well, you know, I have to represent myself differently or whatever, because then I'm not being myself and I'm not being free to myself. And I think that was the biggest thing in this whole is, you know, self-expression is being more true to myself in that way and not doing it to satisfy someone else or not saying yes when it's something I don't want to do. And just really going through those steps and asking myself, are you assuming this because it's somebody else's opinion, or are you assuming it because it's something that you feel? Are you doing it because you feel that you have to, not because it's something that you want to and you want to be in that freedom? Really thinking about that and setting that agreement up and making that new agreement. And like, okay, I'm breaking that old one. I'm going to make this new one now, because now I have these tools, because I've grown and I've like really looked at myself on like, why are you doing that? Are you doing it for you, or are you doing it for somebody else? Are you doing it because of someone else's opinion, or is that your own opinion? And I think really going through that step of like, okay, this is my thought process, and now I'm going to go to this step and this step and this step. Is that beneficial to me? And then expressing myself in that way of being who I am. And You know, some people might be shocked. I think all of us in here, if you're not that person, and now that you've like read this book and you're like, you know what, I think that sometimes even when people go through their midlife crisis, is that it's not that it's a midlife crisis for them, but I think for a lot of people, they're just realizing that they've lived for, 40 or 50 years being a person that they weren't, because they were trying to satisfy everybody else in their life. And now everybody else is like, well, who are you? I don't know who you are. But you're really just expressing who you felt you were the entire time. I mean, it's the same as, people that hide being gay, and some people around them probably know and they guess, but they deny it to themselves because they're fearful of what everybody else is going to think. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, I'm gay. What? Like, because they've put a front on to everybody. And it's that whole, like everything is all these agreements that you've made through society of you have to be this person because you've made those agreements because of everybody else before you, because that's what your parents believed. And that's what, this person believed. And that's what your grandparents believed. And coming out of that norm and taking that generational step, it's just continuing and continuing and continuing. And you're not breaking that. And like, I want to be the person that breaks it. Like my family, on both sides of my family, there's alcoholics everywhere. I drink, yes, but I drink on my term when I, feel like I want to have a drink. I don't want to have the drink because, my dad came home and he had a bad day and then he sat down and drank because that made him feel better. I don't want to be that. And I, a while ago, realized I was doing that. And I was like, okay, well, we're not going to do that no more. But also in the way that I have changed in feeding my body, I have found that my body really doesn't like alcohol that much and we don't get along a lot of times. So I have to choose when I feel that time is like, okay, I'm going to sacrifice maybe feeling like crap a little bit because I want the drink, because I want to enjoy it. But, it's breaking those steps and not continuing, oh, well, that's just how we are. Like Tennille said, oh, well, we're just big people. So we're just going to live with that fact that, that's what it is. You don't have to do that. Self-express in your way, not the way that everybody else has chosen for you to self-express. And I really think that's choosing that freedom to self-express, is taking a hold of the freedom and letting yourself know that it's okay to do that. Like, go be you. Everybody else is taken.
That's my favorite quote. I love it. Be you because everyone else is taken. I just want to add to that on page 110 at the bottom. Practicing the new agreements in your life is how your best becomes better. So we're trying to get to our best selves, right? And it's going to get better and better with time. Repetition. Okay, we have to keep going forward. We can't go back. 10 steps forward, maybe a couple steps back here and there, but keep going forward. And Bethany, I love that you share the crop top story, because with your mindset now and how strong you are can affect somebody else. Okay. Maybe that other teacher at the school, or maybe a mom, or maybe a younger girl that, has been on lockdown her whole life. Like, you not only are causing yourself to feel free and happy, but you might help somebody else feel that way too. And how awesome is that? Just by you being you and making a decision and sticking to it because you want to wear that crop top, you're going to inspire somebody else. Just know that. And you making a decision. How cool. Would anyone else like to share from question 2 before we get our picture? No? Okay. Let's go ahead and get our picture. Tessa, you want it? or Jenny, somebody?
Derek stole my phone. So Tessa, I think you're on that.
Tessa, you want it? Yeah? Is she muted?
Okay, yeah, see, I'm so bad. Alicia will tell you I'm awful about muting myself and trying to talk in the mornings. All right, are we ready? 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Yay. Cool.
I'm cleaning my bathroom and listening. You guys are having a really great conversation. So thank you.
Oh. Elika, I just love hearing your voice sometimes. That just gave me a piece. Her voice is so calming. Okay. Is that creepy? I don't think that's creepy. She just has a good calming voice. All right, number 3. Let's move on.
No, I think that's very sweet. That just made my heart melt a little. Thank you.
Melting.
Yeah, she has like the voice that you want to hear when you're trying to do meditation, because it's just so like, it's okay. You can get in. Like, it truly is.
Yep. All right, number 3. Share your favorite quotes from the chapter and how you felt about them. My 114 for me. Oh, okay. It's about the forgiveness, forgiving not only others, but forgiving ourselves. And it's the second paragraph at the bottom. It says, not because, or I'll start at the beginning of the sentence. We must forgive those we feel have wronged us, not because they deserve to be forgiven, but because we love ourselves so much, we don't want to keep paying for the injustice. I think that's so important, to forgive ourselves of the past, forgive others. I think that has a lot to do with freedom. I've done some things in the past I'm not happy with, and I know I've hurt people in the past, and I hope they forgive me, because I know I've hurt people, but I'm not sitting here saying, or I'm not like, it doesn't bother me if they forgive me or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I hurt them, but it doesn't bother me or affect me now because I've forgiven myself. But they, whoever they are, I don't even know their names, they have to forgive me in order to move on and feel free. So does anybody else have a quote from this chapter that they really enjoyed or really connected with them?
Oh, I just like loved page 103 altogether. Not only because obviously they talk about warriors, but I was just like, yes, highlight the crap out of that. I honestly, you guys, like I literally highlighted like the whole, or I underlined the whole page. I was just so like, yes. So I'm going to read it to you guys a little bit here. So full paragraph here. That is why in all the shamanic traditions in America, from Canada to Argentina, people call themselves warriors because they are in war against the parasite in their minds. That is the real meaning of a warrior. The warrior is the one who rebels against the invasion of the parasite. The warrior rebels and declares a war. But to be a warrior doesn't mean we always win the war. We may win or we may lose, but we always do our best. And at least we have a chance to be free again. Choosing this path gives us, at very least, the dignity of rebellion and ensures that we will not be the helpless victim of our own whimsical emotions or the poisonous emotions of others. I even liked the next part. It was like, at best, being a warrior gives us an opportunity to transcend the dream of the planet and to change our personal dream to a dream that we call heaven. Just like hell, heaven is a place that exists within our own mind. It's a place of joy, a place we're happy. You can continue reading, obviously. But like, I literally loved that so much. I was just like, I want to like adopt that as like our mission statement. Like, the Warrior Women mission statement is like, warriors rebel and we declare war on life. Like, we show up every freaking day to the war. Like, we don't just like hide in the back or like anything. Like, we are the soldiers, like we are the warriors going through life actively. That's what I thought of this as. It's like, we refuse to just like go with the flow. Like, we're going upstream. We're the fighters. We're the people that are going the opposite. We're the people that, while everybody is looking left, we're going right. And like, I have always thought that about us. And so like, to have this book feel like it's super validating and even use the word warriors, I was like, yes. It was pretty powerful. So that's definitely my favorite quote.
Would anyone else like to? Oh, Tessa.
I had two. One, all of 103 was highlighted. But then also, so I had one on forgiveness too. But the other one was the one about like controlling your own behavior, like controlling your emotions. And it was, you know, warriors control their emotions. And that is one thing that I have really learned to do, is not letting everybody else control my emotions, especially with my work. Like, y'all have heard the stories, but letting somebody come in, and I can be having, and it was even in the book, one example was, you know, you get up in the morning and you're really good mood and you're having a great day. And then all of a sudden you get into a fight with your spouse, and then your day's just shit. And it totally changes how your day was going, and you're not in control of your emotions. And that has been like one of my biggest things. So that was my one in there about, was that warriors control their emotions. They don't let other people control their emotions. Maybe you take that second and you're like, okay, nope, not gonna. It's like, pew, pew, you know, you got your little shield out there and you're just defending yourself, because you're not letting somebody get into that bubble that you have. And then you're not letting them take that away from you, and you're controlling what it is, because it is something with them. It is not you. It is something with them that they have an issue, and it's not you at all, because you were having a good day. My other one was about the forgiveness on 114. It said, forgiveness is the only way to heal. You can choose to forgive because we feel compassion for ourselves. We can let go of the resentment and declare, that's enough. I will no longer be the big judge that goes against myself. I will no longer beat myself up and abuse myself. I will no longer be the victim. And it's funny because I was like watching a show the other day, and it was about like, in the show, he tells her, he's like, well, you know, you just have to forgive him. And she's like, but why? And the guy told her, well, you're not forgiving him for him. You're forgiving him for yourself, that you are giving yourself that freedom to forgive. You're not going to forget what the person did to you, but holding on to that is holding on to like a lot of resentment. And that's one thing that like I've tried to do over the years. And it was a big thing of, you know, it releases that victim mentality, and it lets you not be the victim anymore, because maybe they don't care that you forgave them. That's their thing, if they don't care that you didn't forgive them. But you forgiving them gets you out of that victim role. It gives you out of that judgment role. It gets you your freedom to move on from whatever that situation was, whether it was big, whether it was small. It lets you go. It sets you free. You can start that healing process, because the more that you hang on to that, the more it keeps you there in that moment. And that is the past. And it's one thing I always say to people, like, oh, that was the past. I'm like, yeah, well, I don't live there anymore. Change my zip code. We're going on into the future and the present here. My zip code doesn't reside there anymore. I'm not there. So, I mean, if you want to stay there, that's cool. Hang out as far as you want. I don't know, but I've moved on. I'm not living in the past anymore. The past is the past. I'll ask to be forgiven. I forgive, but I'm not there no more. I'm moving on. I'm growing. I'm getting on up out of there.
So my favorite, well, I had a lot of quotes that I highlighted in here, but mine was on page 119, the one that I wanted to share. And it's short and sweet. It's at the bottom of the second paragraph. It says, because I'm still alive, one more day to be myself. And I just love that because like throughout like the whole chapter, I kept, you know, you were just like focusing on how to be free, how to self-express, how to live your best life and forgive others and not make assumptions. And I guess really the whole book is about that. But at the end of the day, we should be grateful to be alive and grateful to have the opportunity to even be ourselves, you know, and you can look at that from a religious aspect or not. Go away, cat. Goodness, cat. Geez, between the kids and the pets today for all of us. But I just loved that because it was just like, it just like summed it all up and it's short and sweet. And it made me think of, actually, it's kind of a goofy example, but on Instagram, I follow DJ Khaled. I don't know if anybody follows him, but he does this thing when he wakes up every morning. Well, he lives in beautiful, sunny California. So I have like a little bit of resentment towards him, but he wakes up and he like puts his phone up in the sky and he goes, I forget what he says, like all praise to the Most High, like I'm so blessed, like, and thank you for, but I always used to like roll my eyes at that, like, so annoying. Like, yeah, I know you've got the California sun shining down on you, but what I realize now what he's doing is he's thanking God or, you know, whoever he's praising for one more day to be alive and one more day to be himself. And so I just love that because it talked a lot about like, you know, we see the sun, I'm going to give my gratitude to the sun and to everything and everyone because I'm still alive one more day to be myself. So I just really like that one because I feel like I try to live like a really grateful life and I'm just happy to be here and happy to have one more day to be myself. So that was my favorite.
Thanks for sharing that. I might be doing that. I wanted to talk about the denial system and about on page 115, it says, once you forgive God, you can finally forgive yourself. I know everybody's had like traumatic experiences like in their past and we're like, well, why did this happen to us? And I think, you know, God obviously gives it to us to challenge us. But sometimes we're like, why? You know, and I think once we just recognize like God's given it to you to challenge you for a reason, we can accept it and then forgive him because like I said, he's given it to you for a reason, which this chapter was really emotional for me because I've realized that I've been using the denial system like just to mask like pain and trauma. And then once I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, like I can forgive myself for how I acted, how I behaved. Like it wasn't me, you know, like now I can just be like, okay, that's what I did. Now let's move on, you know? So it just really kind of opened my eyes and I just really like read that and I just cried and I just let it out. And I was just like, I feel just like awakened, you know, like, and just weightless. So just like being okay with, you know, everything I've done. I don't know. I really don't have the words to express. Like, it's just acceptance, the self-acceptance, I guess, is what it kind of leads to. Like, I can now accept everything I've done and just be grateful, forgive God, and be like more like DJ Khaled, like, thank you, God, for another day to be myself, one more day to be me. So 115, I like underlined everything on it. The self-acceptance begins and then the self-love will grow so strong. So I think that's where I'm at. Forgiveness is key.
That's awesome. That touched my heart, Brittany. Super cool. Would anyone else like to share before I wrap it up?
Tania, I was just going to see if you wanted to think about what to do for the last chapter, because it's only 7 pages. And so I was going to see if you guys are okay with me just not coming up with questions, and then we could just kind of like discuss the book as a whole, if that's okay next week.
Perfect.
Okay, cool.
That's perfect. I would like to end with on page 104 at the top. It says, we can reach heaven while we are alive. We don't have to wait until we die. God is always present, and the kingdom of heaven is everywhere. But first, we need to have the eyes and the ears to see and hear that truth. We need to be free of the parasites. So in wrapping this up, you guys know my faith. I'm a believer and I don't judge anyone. You know, it talks about God's in here and who your God is. But for me in running this book club, I felt today I wanted to pray. You know, there's been some difficult times. Some girls have, you know, are in a battle, have had some battles. And there are battles to come, but we can overcome it. And there is a heaven and hell. And so today I'm going to end with prayer. And if you've never accepted Christ or God into your heart, this is an opportunity to do that. You don't have to share on here. You can private message me. But this is what I wanted to do, and this is what's on my heart to do today, okay? Lord Jesus, we come to you today. We thank you for watching over us each and every day, Lord. We thank you for being present in our life, for taking care of us. God, help us become the best version of ourselves. And that is through being happy, feeling free. Help us be free, Lord Jesus, on this earth. God, I thank you for being with the warrior women through our battles and our struggles. We know that you placed them in our life for a reason, Lord. And I know that we will become stronger and we will become more free after we get through those battles. And we will get through our struggles and our battles with you and with each other, Lord Jesus. I come to you today to ask you to come into my heart, Lord. Please live within me, walk with me, Lord Jesus, each day. Help me become free. Forgive me of my past. Forgive me of my sins. Lord, I thank you for this day, and I thank you for each and every day that I wake up and breathe in that fresh air. In Jesus' name, amen. There you go, girls. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you for being present and talking it out. I love this sit and sip. We will wrap it up at the end of the chapter next week and just kind of get on and chat. All right. I love you, ladies. See ya.